Hello Commanders, Commander Plater here, and welcome back to another Elite Dangerous video. And today I'm doing a quick comparison between my Federal Corvette, the Lucky Lady, and the new and improved Lucky Lady Mark II. I know people were hoping for another name, but it's not happening. First of all, bit of disclosure, I do want to say that there are some improvements on the Mark II that aren't replicated in the Mark I, that due to circumstances in the main game I'm unable to replicate, mainly that I'm over 20,000 light years away from any engineering, so there you go, I couldn't go back and look at that. So we're using the Lucky Lady Mark I that I've been flying around with basically for the last couple of months and didn't find any problems with. Has it changed with the new engineering system? Well, I guess we're going to have to do a comparison and you guys can make some judgment for yourselves. We're going to have a look at the Lucky Lady first. Some of the basics. As you can see, the integrity 4425.6, boost speed 350, top speed 269, total mass, which is kind of the important one, 2823.3 tons, jump range 17.17 as the max, and you can see the total power available is 48.78. So again, we're going to talk about some of the overalls first of all. Integrity, as you can see, is a bit higher, 5151.1. The main bit that's better is the top speed and the boost speed. So the top speed 284, boost speed 269. That's pretty nice. It's also a much heavier ship as well. Looking at the total mass, 3118.5. Pretty beefy. Total power available is 50.4, so again that's an increase. I've got plenty of power overhead, so I could potentially dial this back and go in a slightly different direction. Also, jump range 18.26, so that's a solid increase there as well. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is going to be the hard points. I've kept all of the weapons the same. There are a couple of changes. Some of the rolls on the Mark II are a little bit higher, and hopefully we should be able to see the difference as we go through. Also, it was a lot easier for me to get those grade 5 rolls on the Mark II than the Mark I. So first off, we have the first plasma accelerator, which is one of the huge hard points. In the modifications, we've got efficient grade 5 and plasma slug. This is the same for both ships. Power draw 1.64 megawatts, damage per second 35, damage overall 140, distributor draw 15.68, thermal load 10.7, armor piercing 96, ammo capacity is 0, and the reason why that's 0 is because we've got plasma slug on there, worth remembering. The next plasma accelerator, we'll go in and we can see power draw 2.04, damage per second 3.18, damage 127.2, distributor draw 15.17, thermal load 15.8, armor piercing 107, and ammo maximum, of course, 0 as well. We can ignore that one. Next up we have the large pulse laser, and obviously it's gimbaled, because yeah, lasers, I still can't quite do the whole fixed thing myself, especially in a Corvette, but there you go. Into modifications we go. We've got phasing sequence, it's overcharged grade 4. I will, for full disclosure, say on the Mark II we do have overcharged grade 5. So mass is reduced, and that is 7.52. Damage per second 18.2, damage 5.6, distributor draw 1.4 megawatts, armor piercing 49, jitter 0.32, and yep, phasing sequence on that one. Next up, the first beam laser, and these are turreted, and these are located on the side of the ship, and they're equipped with thermal shock. We have efficient grade 3 on them, and the mass is got a slight reduction, 3.99, integrity 51, it's basically the same even though it says there's a reduction, don't worry about that. Power draw 0.75 megawatts, damage per second 8.5, distributor draw 1.57, thermal load 2.2, armor piercing 38. Second beam laser, same modification, efficient weapon 3 and thermal shock, and it's got mass 3.64, power draw 0.72, damage per second 8.9, distributor draw 1.9, thermal load 1.8. No negatives whatsoever on this one, which is not too bad at all. Onto the small pulse lasers, these are equipped with phasing sequence, they're overcharged 4, and we've got damage per second 7.7, damage 1.9, distributor draw 0.42, thermal load 0.4, jitter 0.3. Next up, we have the second small pulse laser, overcharge 4, phasing sequence, Mass, there's a slight increase here, 2.1. Integrity, 41. Damage per second, 7.8. Damage, 1.9. Distributor draw, 0.44. Jitter, 0.24. As I said, with the weapons, I've gone the same loadout completely. There are a couple of things that are a touch different, and actually where this one says here, for example, this is fixed, it's not fixed, it's gimbaled, just so we know. There does seem to be a bit of an odd thing going on with the icons there in the beta. Please ignore that. First of all, we'll have a quick look at the plasma accelerators, and the modifications we've gone for are, what a surprise, grade 5 efficient plasma slug. And this is where the differences really do come into it. As you can see, there's literally no negative effect whatsoever. Damage per second, 34.9. This isn't 100% perfect, just so we know, but no overalls. That's completely impossible. Also, the damage reduction via plasma slug has been reduced as well, from 20% to 10%, which is fantastic. That makes a really, really nice difference. So as you can see, damage per second, 34.9. Damage, 139.7. Distributor draw, 11.6. Thermal load, 11.8. And the other plasma accelerator is going to have basically the exact same thing, and it does, pretty much across the board. And the reason for that being is I've managed to max them out completely, and then we've gone for plasma slug. And that adds a real element of reliability. You know what you can get, and you know you can hit the maximum on both weapons without having that slight imbalance, which for you guys with those computer internet OCD, absolutely perfect. Next up, the large pulse laser. And as I said, this is actually not fixed, it's gimbaled. Don't ask questions, beta is beta. So, overcharged grade 5 on this one, damage per second 22, damage 6.8, distributor draw 1.24, thermal load 1.1, and phasing sequence. Next up we have the beam laser. Again, this does also show as being fixed, and you don't even notice all of the icons have changed to being fixed. It's not fixed. This one's turreted. It says turreted right there. Modifications. We have got actually efficient 4 on this one, and we have got, as you can see, power draw 0.63, damage 10.4, distributor draw 1.46, thermal load 0.17. Next up, next beam laser. And this has actually got efficient 5 on, so a slight bit of an imbalance, but it gives you an idea between the two. 0.56 for for power draw, damage per second 10.7, distributor draw 1.34, thermal load 1.6, and thermal vent on these ones as well. Next up we have the small pulse lasers, and they are equipped with scramble spectrum as opposed to phasing sequence, because I felt this might be a little bit more interesting but handier. Damage per second 9.4, damage 2.6, distributor draw 0.42, thermal load 0.4, rate of fire 3.6. And the final weapon modifications, we've got grade 5 overcharge, scramble spectrum, damage per second 9.3, damage 2.6, distributor draw 0.42, thermal load 0.4, rate of fire 3.6. So yeah, as you can see, a bit of a difference in the weapons there, but overall really happy with this performance. It packs a punch still, and the plasma accelerators being much more reliable in terms of your rolling makes a huge difference. Next up, utility mounts, and this is where things get a little bit different due to the way that the rolls have been applied and also the secondary effects that you can get in the new engineering system. But don't worry about that, we'll focus on the Lucky Lady Mark 1 first, and we'll talk about the Lucky Lady Mark 2 afterwards. So this shield booster is reinforced. We can see 65% increase, kinetic increase as well at 1.3, and this is all going to be grade 5 on these. Next up we have got shield booster again. This one's got a slight buff to the resistances, 0.33 across the whole lot, or sorry, 3.3 across the whole lot, 59.1% there, 58.2% shield boost here, 20% shield boost here, as well as 13.6 on the resistances. Again, 66.9, this is near enough the best roll you can get under the current system for a shield booster. Next up, 64.4 with a 0.5% increase on thermals and everything across the board. And this one here, you can see we've got a shield boost of 59.7. Now, I did go with a slightly different configuration on the Mark II with shielding, and that will be pretty obvious as we get to it, but overall I'm pretty happy with the result. Like I said, some changes to the shield booster configuration and the shield configuration, but shield strength is 4,854.6, higher than it was on the Mark I. Booster wise, we can see resistance here, totally maxed out at 17%. Fantastic across the board, 20% increase on the shields. 66.2 on the shield booster, brilliant. This one, thermal, 26.8. It could go up to 27, so it's really, really close to being maxed out. Next up, another resistance augmented one, 16.9. Again, could go up to 17, but you get diminishing returns with the amount of effort you have to put into getting the rolls, not really worth it. Again, another resistance augmented here with 16.9 on the board. This one here, the shield booster, could go a little bit higher up to that 67%, but as you can see, you've got thermal resistance as a bonus in there as well, because that's one of the secondary effects you can choose. Next up, another shield booster, and this is again reinforced, and that's a 65.3, and of course a frame shift weight scanner in there, just for material gathering and all that kind of stuff. But that's been modded to be lightweight. Not a huge difference, not particularly relevant. Core internals, really where it's at. So first of all, we've got the reactive surface composites. On this one, modifications wise, I went for thermal resistance because I've got reactive composite to kind of balance that out. Haven't done that on the Lucky Lady Mark II, and I probably won't in future either, just because I managed to get a much higher integrity and comparable resistances, which is very good. With the secondary effects you can get on the, or the experimental effects you can get on the new modules, pretty handy. So, Powerplant. Overcharge grade 5, integrity 136, power capacity 48.78, heat efficiency 0.5. Thrusters, that's going to be an interesting one because Data Drive 5s are applied to both. We have a look at the old modifications. You can see Data Drive tuning grade 5, mass 79.1, integrity 101, power draw 10.8, optimal mass 1882.2, optimal multiplier 134%, so that's a plus 34.5% increase. Not perfect, not the best roll you can get. Thermal load 0.25. FSD, of course I've got increased range, makes sense, grade 5, and as you can see the optimal mass is 2596.2, a plus 44%. Everything else doesn't make a huge difference. Obviously there is a mass increase in there of 20%, which is worth bearing in mind, but jump range 17.7. Life support, quite simple on this one, what we've gone for it makes a lot of sense, lightweight. Only grade 2 on this, but it's a lot easier to get more rolls due to the material traders on the beta, so it is very handy. Power distributor, of course, it's got charge enhanced, only grade 4 on this one, but I do have grade 5 on the Mark II, and it makes a huge difference. And as you can see here for the recharge rates, because that's the important bit I guess, 29%, 29%, 29% across the board. Not a bad roll at all, pretty much as good as you can get on grade 4, so pretty happy with that. Sensors again are going to be modified, and we've modified them as lightweight. I've gone the other direction on the Mark II, I've gone for long range and kept it as 8D, and actually it's worked out really nicely. The core internals for the Mark II, as I said, we've gone for the reactive composites, we've gone fully reinforced for this one, seems like a smart move to me. As for the power plant, as I said, we've gone for the overcharge grade 5, and we've also gone stripped down on it. This decreases the mass, which does help with the jump range, so the mass is down to 72 tons instead of 80. The power capacity is a 50.4 megawatts, which is massive. That's absolutely huge, much higher than you could get with the previous rolls without getting a god roll. Obviously the integrity takes a bit of a hit. As to the heat efficiency, don't seem to be an issue though. Onto the thrusters. The thrusters are definitely better than I had before. Obviously the difference in speed makes that pretty clear. But we've got Data Drive 5, we've got drive distributors. So what this helps do is it does improve the balancing for the drives. So it does add a little bit more to your optimal multiplier. And see, I've got 140% on there, so it's a plus 39.8, which is great. FSD, pretty standard affair. I've gone for increased range on that one. As well as that, with the modifications, I've got Mass Manager, which again improves the optimized mass, so that gives us a higher jump range, which is great. Big fan of that. Like I say, some of these ones with the changes to the engineering, brilliant stuff. Big fan. Next up, life support, lightweight. Mass has had a reduction of 74.3%, which is absolutely huge when you think about it. Like, what are they taking out? Everything? Power distributor. Obviously with this one, modifications wise, we've gone for charge enhanced. I've gone stripped down as well for this one. The reason why I've done that is because the other modifications you have in there either reduce your capacity in exchange for charge, or reduce your charge in exchange for capacity. And seeing as I've got charge enhanced, I've already taken a hit to my weapons capacity, so I didn't want to take any further. So it didn't seem really relevant to me as a good idea to do that. But the mass manager and having the strip down has reduced its weight by 10%, which again improves jump range and handling. And then sensors, finally. In there we've got long range scanner, and that's increased the range to 8.1 kilometers from the unmodified 5.76. Not too bad at all. So overall, pretty happy with the changes that's made. Okay, let's take a look at the optionals. This is where things really do get a little bit interesting. Now, I haven't gone for the exact same internals. It is worth me pointing out for both of them. I've literally just dropped a couple of things. I don't have an SCB on the Mark II. I didn't really see the point because I always forget to use them anyway. So we've got a 7A prismatic generator. This one does actually have a modification on it, and it is thermal resistant 5. Don't worry about that too much. I did get a slight bonus to the increase there, but overall, we'll talk about the shield strength a little bit later on. But it is 4,492 on the Mark 1. Mark 2, a little bit different in a positive way. So, most of the things we haven't engineered there, hull reinforcement packages, I'm not going to go into too much on each one, but I will say is that roll-wise, you can do a little bit better on the Mark 2. And with the new engineering system, it's a lot easier for you to get those high-level rolls. There aren't too many differences, and we'll talk about the overall defences of the ship separately and individually. But to give you an idea of the build and what we've got in there, as you can see, we've got hull reinforcement packages. It works out to be 5 grade 5s, which is kind of obscene. Sorry, 3 grade 5s. Module reinforcement package 5D, and then 4D hull reinforcement in there as well. But we'll talk about them in a minute. Like I say, integrity 4,425.6. Optional internals for the Mark II. As I said, I've kept everything pretty much the same. So we've got our prismatics in here, but these ones are reinforced. And the modifications on there say is reinforced grade 5, and we've given them high cap. So it does have an increased power draw and system drain, but as I said, the system drain and the power draw is not a huge difference, but the drain on the distributor is a little bit of a bad one. But going over what we've got, so power draw 8.09, optimal strength is 215, which is fantastic, so it's 64.6 increase. Kinetic resistance plus 49%, explosive 57.5. Thermal resistance is -2, but that's to be expected with shields. That's kind of what they do. The high cap is a new secondary effect or experimental effect you can pick, which increases your shield cap even further. Pretty handy. Fuel scoop here, modifications, shielded, doesn't make a huge difference. Just increases the power draw slightly, but we've got plenty of overhead, like I said. Again, hull reinforcement packages, but as I said, the integrity is 5,151 with very good resistances in there as well. I have mentioned the resistances a couple of times, and I wanted to mention that quickly as well. There's quick comparison on screen. Mark II is on the left hand side, Mark I is on the right hand side, and as you can see, there has been pretty much a bit of a rebalance across both ones. Particularly the armour on the Mark II is a little bit better, especially around the explosive kinetic resistances, and also a little bit of an increase on the thermal. As for the shield strength, I have traded some megajoules in exchange for a little bit of thermal resistance, only less than 4% in there, but also vastly increased on kinetic and explosive, which does make a bit of a difference if you're talking about something like being hit by rails, would make a bit of a difference there, but overall I'm pretty happy with the way everything's gone. That armor increase is definitely going to be quite beneficial, as well as the shield health as well, overall increased megajoules. I have taken a bit of a hit on regeneration, but that comes with the territory. High megajoules, slow regeneration, pretty standard stuff. Okay commanders, there you go. I guess I do have a plan of what I'm going to be doing when the new engineering goes live in the game, and definitely I think I'm going to be upgrading lots of things, and the best bit is I had to do minimal gathering due to the material broker that allowed me to gather all of the materials I needed, swap them over, move things around in order to get everything I needed to make the Lucky Lady Mark II, and that was all done from very starting modules, fresh build. Should be a lot quicker, bearing in mind that everything else is already rolled up to grade 3 at a bare minimum, so hopefully that should work. Final thoughts on the new engineering system from me. I feel like, yep, it's definitely improved. Some aspects not so much. The lack of overalls is a bit of a shame. I wish there was some kind of aspect in there as well, but the experimental effects available on every module, what a godsend. Love it. I think it's fantastic, adds that real customizable aspect to it, and overall pretty happy. So commanders, I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. Please leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts on the new engineering system. Bearing in mind the number of roles you need to get from grade 1 to 5 has been massively reduced since the beta first launched, and at the same time guys, please do like, subscribe, and whilst you're there make sure you turn on notifications, that way you get an alert every time I put a new video out. Also, whilst you're there, if you're looking to support the channel, please check out the links in the video description. And once again, thank you for watching. Commander Plater, out.